So while the Varia Radar is kind of a universally loved bicycle product, the mount that comes with this is, yeah, almost universally disliked. And I think I rode with this like 1 or 2 rides before I eventually hacked together this. Yeah, it's definitely in the hack category, but I've gotten enough questions now and messages about this, so I guess it's worth a share, and we're saving some bonus grams, which is never a bad thing. And if you wonder what bonus grams it's unlike pedals, it's weight you don't necessarily need to include in your final bike weight specification. Pedals are though. So the problem with the original mount is, besides the weight of course, it actually puts your Garmin so far out, so like the weight shifts to the back, and when you hit really rough road, going descent, going fast, it kind of have a tendency to move around. So once you put it straight on start of your ride, you come home and look back and it's kind of pointing all kind of weird places. Now of course there's a lot of third-party mounts out there that solves this problem with very secure mounts, bolts, nuts and all kinds of stuff. Mostly though are in that 30 grams or more in terms of weight. There are some 3D printed options that comes in around 15 grams, which are very nice. I would recommend you check out Lucendi on Instagram. Make some really nice mounts for different kinds of seat posts, so check that out. But you know what's even lighter than 3D prints? That is foam, and especially this dense EVA foam. I think this particular one came from a frame set I got delivered. It's kind of a packaging protection or whatever. But I also found this at my local home improvement store, or home centers as they're called here in Japan. A 2 centimeter thick piece here is like less than $1, so it's not a huge investment. Together with the foam block, I use a standard Garmin quarter-turn stem mount. You get 1 or 2 with all Garmin bike computers these days. That usually just sits in the box, as most people use out front mounts. If you don't have any of these laying around, you can still pick them up for about 10 bucks or something like that. Now, this is kindergarten arts and craft stuff. It's not rocket science. All I need to make is a round angled wedge to go on the back of that stem mount. To get the right size, I just remove the quarter turn insert from the original Varia mount, press the back into the foam, leaving a little imprint that I can use as a cutting guide. Then I just use a small box cutter or a hobby knife to cut a reasonably round shape. Now, I wouldn't get many gold stars from the kindergarten teachers with a cut like that, that's for sure, but a little cleanup with the scissor will be good enough for now. From this beautiful 20mm thick piece of art, I just need to cut a little angle. You can get really picky if you want to and measure your exact seat angle and crap like that, but we're in kindergarten here, so eyeballing it with the original mount is good enough. And as long as the radar isn't pointing down at my tire, I should be in the clear. A quick test to see I'm not totally off base. It looked okay, so a bit more trimming with the scissors before using a lighter on the side just to smoothen out the surface a bit for good measure. Doesn't need to be much, and be careful not to set it on fire. I don't think we're allowed to play with fire in the kindergarten, but yeah. So the last step is to super glue the foam to the back of the mount. I double checked a few times just to make sure I didn't glue this in the wrong direction, but super glue on. Press the foam in place and it's done. Simple as that. So with the original mount at 29.6 grams, the new kindergarten mount is 5.2 including the rubber band, and that saved me a whopping 24.4 grams for a price about $1 that I paid for the foam. And the first version I made years ago was free, as I used foam I already had. Now I don't want to think about how much money I spent in the past saving 25 grams, say like going from a 105 gram stem to an 80 gram stem. That is like mental institution worthy. But it's good to balance it out with some cheap gram saving, even though it's just bonus grams. Now a few things to point out. I didn't do any shaping to the inside of the foam to like match the curve of a seat tube or a seat post, but the foam is like soft enough so it kind of conforms itself around the seat post as long as you have a strong enough rubber band. And I prefer to do the rubber band attachment like so, just one rubber band around all the 4 different corners, so it pulls it real evenly, and it actually keeps it in place a lot better, at least than the old mount did for me. While it is stable, of course it can still move around, especially if you ride along and need to reach back to adjust your light modes or whatever, but I always control this with my head unit, so I set it up in the morning and don't touch it until I get home basically. And in my riding circumstances, this is almost always the same angle when I come home as it was in the morning when I left. Another good point about the rubber band mounting, for me at least, is it's very easy to remove, and since I wash my bike a lot, I always remove these kinds of accessories, and even like moving from one bike to another is very quick and easy compared to if you have to whip out some tools to remove that mount. I should also mention that this only works on the RLT 510, this is the 515, and what's the other one called? The standalone one, RVR 310 I think it's called. The newer 715 something with the camera and all that heavy stuff has a proprietary mount, so you can't use a normal quarter turn mount for that. And if you have an aero seat post, you might have to do a lot more sculpting with the foam to do it. I don't know if it's worth investing in that. I don't know. If you have a D-shaped aero seat post, it would be very easy since the back is flat, so that's always something. And of course, if you don't care about weight at all, you have all the third-party options in the world, like saddle rail mounts and all kinds of stuff for specific aero seat posts and stuff like that. So you can always find a mount, at least that it's an improvement over the original one, that's for sure. But if you want to, yeah, really cheap and easy to save 25 grams, which is all that matters in the world. Anyway, I need to go now. Let's stop this. Peace.